Welcome back to the Relentless Warrior podcast. We're glad you're here. I'm James Larimore. I'm the founder and CEO of Apex Training Systems, and today is really a special episode. Today we are going to talk about a lot of the why Apex Training Systems came to be, why even this Relentless Warrior podcast came about. I'll give you a little bit of insight into me and experiences that I've gone through, and struggles that I had about kind of what I think every man is facing right now. Every man in America, to some degree, maybe not every man who cares about protecting his family, cares about being a good man, I think is facing some of these dilemmas. I know that I faced them, and they were winning. They were beating me down, and it took some real. It is taking some real work to get out of that, right? To walk through that. I heard Adam Allred say he was given he was being interviewed on a podcast, and he gave this really lengthy list of what a man should be able to do, and it was all of these tasks that were auspicious. It was an auspicious list, but it was all these tasks that a man should be able to do. And his point was, what he believed was that 95% of men, and I think that number is a little bit higher, but that 95% of men in America have been fed for so long the go to school, get a job, get married, and then you have a list of responsibilities that you complete every day, and that's all you're good for, is checking the boxes on those responsibilities. And what that leads to, in my opinion, is quiet desperation. We have responsibilities that we have to fulfill, but one, I think the plan has been to divert us from what those real responsibilities should be. But also what it does, it steals our soul. It steals who we were called, who we were created to be. And so that's where I found myself. I found myself devoted to helping others. I found myself devoted to fulfilling the tasks that were on my sheet every day, that I had a lot of responsibility. I had a lot of people who worked for me. And I had a lot of people under my care. It was important that I was caring for them well. And so I focused on fulfilling the check boxes and the responsibilities there. And I did the very best that I could. But slowly what I began to do was lose the pieces and parts of myself that I believe are there because they fuel us, and they are the fire inside of us that make us able to fulfill what we've been created to do. And so that was a really, really low spot for me. I went through some really difficult things in my own life. I was fat and out of shape. I was had anxiety, and just I was not fun to be around. And what I found was embracing that was going to be a whole lot more challenging than what I was ready for. And so I know we've kind of just jumped right to the heart of it right now, but I really do think that today's episode is going to be pivotal in one, letting you see why we're doing what we're doing here at Apex, but also hopefully some of it will resonate with you and where you are, and then we will land on how we can help each other build our way out of it. Now, my favorite philosopher, and I'm going to call him a philosopher, my favorite thinker. Now, I rank him among the greatest all time, but he's definitely, in my opinion, the best philosopher alive today, especially when speaking to men, is Jordan Peterson. And we're gonna try something a little new for the podcast today. We're gonna do a little screen share kind of reaction video to a clip that Jordan Peterson gave in an interview with Joe Rogan, and it was a pivotal point for me. I must have watched Jordan Peterson say this 2 minutes or whatever it is we're going to show. I've seen it well over 100 times and reminded myself of what it was going to take. And when you watch it, you'll see the emotion and the fire with which he says it, and then we'll talk about it and see how we can make that apply to us and to our life.
Hero is the person who confronts horrible, chaotic potential and tames it and makes something of it, right? That's the fundamental human story. But the problem is that you have to face what you don't want to face in order to fix it.
Yeah.
And so you look at all the things about yourself that need to be burned off, that need to be dispensed with. And that, man, especially at the beginning, especially if you're screwed up, that may be like 95% of you just has to go up in flames. And it's painful. Even some of that stuff that you have to burn off doesn't want to die. And it'll scream in agony while you're burning it off. It's not pleasant. But if you know that you're the thing that can transcend your problems, most fundamentally, if you know you're the thing that, if it faces the problems, can transcend them, then you have the faith that would enable you to take stock of who you are.
And you have to do that in small steps, because most people don't have experience in transcending their problems, so they really don't know what it even feels like. It seems like an alien concept. It seems like something other people can do.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do it incrementally, you can show yourself that you can do it.
That's the thing. Like, that is the thing. So many points there, right? What I believe is as we feel parts of ourselves begin to die, we cling to destructive things. We cling to things that cause a little bit of chaos, whatever it is, whether it's any kind of addiction, self-destructive habits, thought patterns, whatever it is, we cling to those. Maybe it's because they give us a dopamine charge. Maybe it's because they numb us, right? We seek comfort, and we don't have to think about or face our problems for a minute. And so as we do that, we compound our problems. And so that part about the pieces of us that we have to burn away, I love the imagery there, because it at least in my experience, it relates really well with what I needed to do. There are parts of us that are not healthy, parts of us that literally work against our own well-being. Our ego is not really our friend, but our ego is a very, very strong, ingrained part of us. And as I embraced, okay, I've got to get rid of some of these things. I've got to confront my problems so that I can transcend them, right? And that's a journey, one that I'm very, very much still on. But looking at the parts of ourselves, the parts of our ego, the parts of our mindsets that we've allowed to grow, that we've allowed to foster and take root within us, getting rid of those so that we can come out the other side and be who we are created to be, who we are supposed to be, that takes real work. That takes embracing the fact that it is going to hurt. It's going to be hard. It's going to be a challenge. And what I found is I was very blessed. I had a family who loved me and prayed for me. I had friends who came alongside me and had no solutions really for the problems I had created, for the problems I was facing. Many of the problems I didn't create, but I was still facing them, and where I needed to be. And so that community was vital for me. And many of the men in that community are fundamental in the birth of Apex, the birth of Relentless Warrior. And so it took me kind of wandering and struggling until one evening there was this sort of idea that took root on, we can do this together. There's a community that we can do this together. And why am I not tapping into my experiences throughout my life, whether it was relatively difficult, childhood, whether it was my experiences in the military, whether it was my experiences with MMA, whatever it was. Why am I not tapping into those to get through this fire, to get through this fight, to get where I need to be? And that was really the genesis of Apex Training Systems and why we've begun to put these things together. So I want to talk now. I want to transition to the why I feel like it's important for every man, every single man, And absolutely women. We've got one of our Apex alums brought somebody up to me just the other night and was like, "Hey, Apex for women too, right?" I said, "Absolutely," and she was really jazzed about it. This training is very important because I believe it's crucial that all of us attain 3 attributes in order to live a fulfilled life, to fulfill what inside of us we are called to be. And the first one is dangerous. We have to be dangerous. We have to be capable, and we have to be disciplined. Again, I steal this from Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson said, "A harmless man is not a good man. A good man is a very dangerous man who has that under control." That is paramount. That is a fundamental truth that if you think about it, how many harmless men do you know? I bet it's a high number. I know many, many harmless men. And while they may have kind hearts, I don't know that they're necessarily good at fulfilling the purpose of a man. What we know is that violence exists in this world, and choosing to ignore that fact and choosing not to prepare for it doesn't make it go away. If we don't train for confrontation, we are giving the advantage. We are honestly at the mercy of those who do. It is choosing to start ourselves light years behind any adversary that we may face. One fundamental truth throughout all of human history is that war is more common than peace. If you look at the timeline of humanity, war is far more common than peace. Violence comes to the doorstep. Now, we in America have been blessed that it's been a long time since we've had a traditional full-scale war, at our doorstep. However, if we look around, we have seen violence invade really every area of our country. And so we need to be able to rise to the occasion. We need to be able to meet the call. We have to train ourselves to be dangerous. I believe that the fundamental purpose, now every man, every person has a different purpose, a different role to fill in this world. But what I would say is that every single man is created to protect the family and protect the community. Regardless of what else we do in our daily lives, we are responsible for being able to protect our family and loved ones and protect our community. A man who cannot defend his family is literally failing at his primary fundamental purpose that is ingrained in his genetic code. And one of the saddest things, those men I spoke about, the 95% who are living kind of that hollow lives, what I call them is they're living sort of a papier-mâché version of who they're called to be. One of the saddest things I see, and I see it often, is these men who have a hope that when things go bad, someone else will protect them and protect their loved ones. Whether we're having conversations about disasters and the hope that FEMA will show up, or it's obviously I'll call the police and they'll be there. Well, if you look at some of our city's response times to 911 calls, you can understand that that's not reality anymore in many places, right? It's not enough to hope that someone else will protect you and your loved ones. That is your job. I'm speaking just to the men right now. That is your job. And it's important that we understand that and embrace that. Criminals, predators, all kinds of threats exist, right? We must be, I hate to say this because I know some of us, it feels like we're light years away from getting there, but we've got to be working towards, at least, if we're not there yet, we have to be working towards being more dangerous than those who seek to do us and our family harm. We have to do that. And it doesn't matter where you are, where you're starting. Right? Last Apex training, we had all kinds of fitness levels. We had all kinds of experience levels. We had all a variety of talents, and a variety of different mindsets, right? We had everything from a very novice pistol shooter up through a SWAT officer. All of us training together, all of us building, and what we work to create is a culture where everyone is benefiting from everyone else, right? But if we're on that trajectory and we're training to be able to protect ourselves, protect our families, protect our communities, right? We're building strength. And the thing that we find is the benefit there is that skill and strength deter violence. A strong man commands respect without ever needing to be in a fight, right? One of the things we know and we learn from studying the predatory mindset is that predators choose the weak link, right? We can see this in the nature shows all the way through, ambush ideology, ambush strategy, is that it's the injured, it's the weak, it's the one who is viewed as a soft target generally becomes the victim. So what we have to do is we have to build strength and capability that make us a very difficult target. And I don't mean that from bravado. I don't mean that from walking around with our chest puffed out and staring down everybody that we come across. Not at all. That's, in my opinion, that's weakness. That's false. What truth is knowing there's a confidence within us that I've trained to be a violent, dangerous man. I can do that if I have to. I know that. And so what I live in is care and compassion, but I keep an awareness. I keep an awareness to know that the other side of me may have to make an appearance today, right? So capability, what that leads to is independence and freedom, right? Independence, confidence, and freedom. A capable man doesn't rely on others, right? A capable man looks within for their safety, their survival, their success, right? Looks within to problem solve. Now, I'm a huge believer in community. I'm a member of a wonderful community, of a wonderful town and city that we live in, but I'm also a member of a very small community that I do rely very heavily, and my wife relies very heavily on the other members of our community to be strength, to bring peace, to bring some of that confidence, right? But at our core, each member of that community understands that when the rubber hits the road, it's our responsibility. It's our responsibility to take care of those that we love, to take care of ourselves, and to preserve what we've built, right? Physical strength is important. Now, there are factors with physical strength that are outside of our control, absolutely. But I would say training to be as strong physically as we can be, everyone can benefit from that. But physical strength and then a tactical set of skills and a tactical mindset, those things build confidence. I watched my father. A little bit backstory. My dad commanded, in terms of number of human beings, the largest company to serve in Vietnam. He left Vietnam with 2 Purple Hearts and a Bronze Star and was sprayed multiple times with Agent Orange. And now I watched him, at the end of his life, he developed different types of cancer from that Agent Orange. And I watched him where he became wheelchair bound. He couldn't get around walking anymore. He was in a motorized scooter, and it looked just like anyone else's motorized scooter. He looked like an overweight, old, sick man, and many of those things were true. He was going through chemotherapy and radiation at a very high level, but he was tactically minded, and I promise you, he was the last guy that anyone wanted to confront. And if they mistook him for a soft target, they were in for a very rude awakening. At the end of his life, my dad worked 7 days a week in downtown Austin. He built a 23-story skyscraper. He was a general contractor there. He was there by himself in alleyways, around construction sites, wheeling himself around on a scooter. And no one in my family was worried about his safety from an attacker because we knew he had thought tactically about his situation. We had talked it through, he and I as men, and we knew that he was in a place to defend himself if he had to. So that capability that physical strength, that tactical mindset breed confidence. They allow us to do what we need to do to get the job done. The understanding is that if we can't protect ourselves, we can't protect anything, right? If I can't protect myself, I can't protect my family. If I can't protect myself, I can't stand in the gap for someone else or for someone who can't, right? But a capable man can navigate crisis. They can navigate conflict. They can navigate chaos without panic. That is such a valuable asset that we all can bring to our communities, not just our family, not just our four and no more. We can bring a really valuable asset to our communities. If we can navigate chaos, conflict, and crisis without panicking, utilizing what we've trained for, utilizing how we've sharpened our mind in a tactical way. And again, I am not a tactical guy, right? I want to be approachable. I want to be humble. I want to be caring and compassionate. I sort of chuckle at these guys who walk around and they wear the schmediums, right? They buy the shirts that are 2 sizes too small, and they walk around and they hold their arms out like they have these invisible lats that just flow their arms out and make them look like a gorilla. And so they send this message that they are definitely a hard target. What I've found in my life is that is generally the opposite of true. And so I don't mean in any way for you to build a false sense of self. That's ego at its worst. What we're trying to do at Apex is help each other build a true strength, a true confidence, intrinsic, that knows, one, we're here for a purpose, right? We can identify some of those purposes that we all share, right? Protecting our loved ones, protecting our community, right? And then our unique individual purposes, and that we can feed into each other. We can build into that so that we can be approachable and caring and show grace and mercy and love to others. The third thing we have to be, right? We have to be dangerous. We have to be capable. The third thing we have to be is we've got to be disciplined. Now, this is the meat. This is really where it all is packaged up and makes us who we need to be. Discipline separates the weak from the strong. Plain and simple. Say it again. Discipline separates the weak from the strong. I watched a video. One of the Apex alums that is one of my very closest friends sent a video. And he had an experience where he was traveling, and he tries to get to the gym every time he's traveling. He checks in at the gym. He's doing his lifts. He's a strong guy. He's a big guy, and someone saw him lifting, and decided it was time to assert himself as the alpha in the room. And he went over to the same machine and he piled all the weights on, got supplemental weights and added them on. And it was like kind of one of those comical videos of he didn't even do an exercise. He was just flailing all over the place to show that he could make that stack of weight move. That if you looked at him, he looked like he could be a strong guy, but between his ears, there was so much weakness there that he made a fool of himself. I have met very many dangerous, capable weaklings. The difference was their lack of discipline. I've been fortunate in conflicts that I've been in, different types of conflicts that I've been in throughout my life, to run into many dangerous, relatively capable men who lacked discipline and were therefore weak. Another great, I'm going to call him a philosopher because he's a great thinker. Jocko Willink says that discipline equals freedom. I heard Jocko, who, if you don't know Jocko, you should, remarkably dangerous, remarkably capable, remarkably disciplined man, one of the top in the world. And he gives a talk where he says, if I have a choice, if I face confrontation on the street and I have a choice to run away, I'm going to run away. I'm going to leave that situation because I have nothing to prove. And one, I don't want the worst case scenario, right? I'm going to go from Jocko Willink to Dalton from Roadhouse. Nobody ever wins a fight, right? Nobody ever wins a fight. I've been in hundreds of fights. Nobody ever wins a fight fully. Nobody comes out of a fight unscathed. Nobody comes out of a fight unchanged. I think every fight I've ever been in has changed me in some way. And so discipline is the thing that says, you know what, I'm going to train myself to be dangerous. I'm going to make sure I build a skill set that makes me capable, and I'm going to have a disciplined mind and a disciplined work ethic that lets me know, one, I have nothing to prove. I have no bravado that I need to build, and that I'm going to be able to use this in a fruitful and advantageous way. Now, there are also non-dangerous, non-capable, non-disciplined men, and those are the sheep. We see those that's far, far more common, right? Weak men seek comfort all of the time, right? We all have times where we need a little comfort, right? But weak men seek out comfort, seek out ways to be comfortable, whereas strong men seek growth. And training for growth involves struggle. It's hard. It hurts. Most training, best training happens early in the morning or late at night, right? One of the guys that I train with in our little community, I didn't sleep one night, and we were supposed to shoot early the next morning, and I sent out a group message and said, "Hey guys, I didn't sleep. I'm not going to make it." And then a couple of days later, we were back at the range, and he was like, "Hey man, just saying, you're going to have to shoot tired sometimes. Don't let that be why you don't show up." Hit me right in the face, right? Because he was absolutely right. He was absolutely right. But the difference was, in that moment, I wasn't disciplined enough to embrace the discomfort of getting out of bed, gearing up, going out in the cold. It was high 30s, low 40s, and training. I wasn't disciplined enough. I chose to seek comfort in that moment, right? Now, we understand that the world respects the strength. The world respects strong and tends to ignore weak, which is why so many men walk around with that false sense of bravado, that false, that arrogant, let me portray that I am super dangerous, that I'm the toughest man in every room. It's why you see 50-year-old men getting in bar fights. It's why you see they build this narrative that it's important for them that everyone else believes about them, rather than building truth. True strength commands respect. True strength has a voice, right? A weak man's voice doesn't carry any weight. It's sad. But how many of you can think of a weak man right now whose voice carries no weight at their house? Whose voice carries no weight at the workplace? It's obvious then that their voice doesn't carry any weight in society. How many men have resigned themselves to checking the boxes of responsibility, and that's their only purpose, that they defer everything else to their wives? They defer all of the challenges, all of the responsibilities, all of the fun to their wives, and they're just drug around like they're on a leash. Now, a wonderful wife is a true blessing, and most wives have a gift for logistics and planning and making all of the schedules work for all of the family members and pulling things off. That's a wonderful, wonderful asset. But what I'm saying is, a weak man will disengage from that entire process and let the responsibility fall entirely on the shoulders of their wife. I've been guilty of that in my past, absolutely, right? But what ought to be the case is that we bring that strength to that partnership with our wives, with our significant others, with our partner, and we come alongside them, and we accentuate their own strengths, and where they need the help, we fill in the gaps, right? Do you want to be a man that your wife can depend on? Do you want to be a man that your wife can depend on, that your kids can depend on? Now, yes, showing up absolutely matters, right? I know so many men, I've worked with so many men who say, I really try to be a dependable man. I try to make every ball game. I try to be a dependable man, and I make sure I'm keeping this job and bringing home a paycheck. That is dependability, absolutely. But do you want to be a man who your family can depend on when things go horribly wrong? Because they will. They will. I don't know of a philosophical system or a religious ideology. I don't know of a single one that says life will always be easy. And any of the ones that have any real following and the one I ascribe to says that life will undoubtedly be very hard. And I want to be a man that my family can lean on and can depend on when that happens. And that's what we are training for. That's what we're working towards. And that's why Apex is really a 360 approach we train physical strength, absolutely. We train physical and tactical skills all the time. That's the mode that we use for all of the work. But really the most important work's between our ears and in our heart. And we have to build that discipline there. Being dangerous, being capable, and having discipline is the foundation for leadership, right? If everyone knows that if the worst case scenario happened, you could handle the situation. If they know that you've worked and invested in the skills that you can handle, you're capable of handling the day-to-day challenges that might arise. And if they can trust you to be disciplined, then they will naturally want to follow you. Now, we use physical training, as I mentioned, but what training does is it sharpens your body, right? You find you'll get healthier. I've torn from my shoulder, through my arm, through my leg, down all the way to my Achilles. I've torn the whole left side of my body. And thought inaccurately, I believed for times that, well, I'm never going to be able to train like I used to. I'm never going to be able to do the things I used to do. I've just gotten old, and I just can't. Right? Well, that's not true. We can shift our mindset. We can be smart. We can be wise, and we can train to the highest appropriate level for us, and we will find that we will sharpen our body and get stronger and stronger and stronger. I am stronger right now probably than I've ever been in my life, including at the height of when I was living in a barracks and all we did is train, right? Training sharpens our body, but more importantly, training sharpens our mind. The only way, in my opinion, to build mental toughness is through physical exertion, is through physical challenge, is through making our body do more than feels good, more than is comfortable, more than we want it to. We've got to push it. And to do that, most often it takes colleagues, it takes comrades standing beside you, in the mud with you, in the murk with you, in the hard, in the suck with you. And then what we find is that as we get through that, we've built ourselves mentally, and that's really the truest payoff. So combat training isn't just physical, it's mental conditioning for life. It's mental conditioning for the day-to-day conflicts that come up every day, driving to work, at work, those things, but it's also mental conditioning for worst possible scenarios, absolutely. Controlled adversity in training makes us ready for real adversity in life. It makes real adversity more manageable because we are prepared. We're dangerous enough to respond. We're capable. We've built the skills. We've had the internal conversations with ourselves, and we've developed the discipline to be ready to respond. Training to fight prepares you to face any battle, physical, mental, or spiritual, right? I'm not an advocate. Don't go get in a fight. My hope is that every Apex alum never gets in a fight, never has to draw a pistol, never has to use the physical skills that we work on or that they continue to develop, right? I think that's unlikely, but the reason we do it is because it prepares us for whatever the fight of our lives will be. That phrase, he's in for the fight of his life, she's in for the fight of her life, those are real. And whether it's a spontaneous attack where a criminal, where a monster has come out of the woodwork and is attacking you and you are truly fighting for your life, or whether it's a diagnosis, right? Whether it's a marriage in jeopardy, whether it's a non physical confrontation with another person, but it's just as momentous, and probably more so. Training to fight, training prepares us for whatever that case will be. If you're not training, honestly, you're falling behind. Now, one of the things that I do ascribe to is that every day there is someone out there training to take what I have. Every day there's a man who is working hard. He is becoming dangerous. He is building skills. He is capable and getting more so because he is a negative actor. He's a villain. He's a bad guy, and he wants to take what I have. One day our paths will cross, and he's going to try to take what I have, and am I going to be ready for him? And I believe, men, that is your responsibility to train in that way. And we hope, sure, that it never happens. Absolutely. But if all we have is hope, and we don't invest and we don't train, it's like preparing for the best case scenario every day, right? If the best case scenario happens every day for the rest of our lives, we'll be grateful. But we know that that's not going to happen. So we're either preparing for battle, we're preparing for the fight of our lives, we're preparing to defend ourselves and our loved ones, or we're waiting to become a victim. That's really what it boils down to. We're waiting to become a victim. We're hoping we don't, but we're waiting to become a victim. So many people that I've worked with, that I've trained with, whether it's coming to Apex or whether it's other trainings I've attended, what you hear over and over and over again is, it took me so long to start. It took me so long, or they had some incident that was jarring and traumatic and opened their eyes to the fact that they had to be prepared. So the time to prepare is right now, not when we're faced with a threat. That's the time to prepare, right? Whatever your political beliefs are, we just went through an election. There's some optimism. Obviously, there's some pessimism from one side and optimism from another, right? But right now, things are okay. If you're watching this, you're probably doing so in a comfortable space where the air is conditioned to your comfort level, where you have enough to eat, you have clean water to drink. Now is the time to prepare so that you are ready when some of those things no longer exist, if we get there, right? Men were made for this. My personal belief is that God created men to be warriors. Now, I know that not everyone ascribes to my religious beliefs. No problem. No problem. Most men I know, regardless of a faith or a lack of faith, deep down they know that they are pulled to be prepared to be a warrior, right? That is ingrained within us. Whether you think that is passed down genetically in your DNA, right, in your blood memory, right, or you think it is something spiritual, whatever it is, every man feels that pull. We all know, we can make a list of those dangerous, capable men who are villains, who are not disciplined and are ready and willing to take advantage of us. Right? We know those men, so we've got to prepare, right? A man who refuses to develop his strengths betrays his purpose. Let me say it again. A man who refuses to train betrays his core fundamental purpose. That purpose is to be dangerous, is to be capable, and to be disciplined. To be dangerous, to be capable, to be disciplined is not a luxury, it's a duty. Let me say that one more time. Training to be dangerous, to be capable, and to be disciplined is not a luxury, it's a duty. That's why we do what we do here at Apex. That's why we started the Relentless Warrior podcast. It's become a purpose that I had to walk through some pretty intense fires to understand I needed. And as I began to unpack that for myself, I knew that we can do this and we can do it better together. So understand that Apex is here to help, that we respond to every message. We respond to every direct message. We respond to every time someone reach out, you're going to hear from one of us. We've got trainings. We've got seminars that happened. I'll be releasing the rest of the 2025 training schedule, seminar schedule here next week, and I'll get that out to you. We'll share it on everything. Come to a seminar. Our next seminar is March 29th. If you've watched the podcast or you follow social media, you'll know that it's one of the ones I believe in the most, Apex Grounded Fire. That's a great one to come to, right? March 29th here in Salado, Central Texas. It's worth the drive. It's worth the flight if that's what you need to do. It will be worth your time. But if it's not that one, find one and plug into the community. I myself am a member of multiple other training communities, and this is a deal where we are all in this together. Those who are truly training with the right intentions, man, they understand this is a shared experience. There's not a little, let me protect my kingdom or whatever. That's just silly. Remember that training to be dangerous, training to be capable, and working as hard as you can and training to be disciplined is not a luxury for you. It is a duty. So as always, train hard, stay sharp, and stand ready. Love you.